Hello and welcome to a very special video today. We're going to be playing some pre-modern. Brian Coval and I put together this very interesting gauntlet, and the idea is for us to showcase this fantastic format that is a casual format, very cool. And we're going to be playing a couple of different decks. We're going to have an introduction where we're going to be discussing what we're trying to do here, but we're going to do a little bit of deck tech before getting everything started, and I'm going to be playing 5 different decks. The very first one that I'm going to be playing is going to be Sligh. This is one of the most prominent aggro decks in the format, and it's the equivalent of Burn in Modern and stuff like that. The thing is that there's only a very limited amount of, good burn spells that we can play. So sure, we're playing our 4 copies of Lightning Bolt, and after that things get a little bit dicier. So we're playing 4 copies of Incinerate, we're playing Firebolt, and we're playing 4 copies of Bolt Lightning. And it's really funny how, cards like that don't really see play anywhere else. So that's why I am such a big fan of this format, is because we get to play with some other cards that are not good enough for one format where they're legal, or maybe they're too good for another format, so they're not legal. But this kind of strikes a little bit of a balance. Of course, this format has some really cool nostalgia, and what's better to induce some nostalgia than some good old Bolt Lightning? So we're gonna be trying to burn our opponent out with some good cards like Goblin Patrol, for example, Grim Lavamancer. And good old, this card was back in the day one of the strongest cards ever. A long time has gone since, and a 1-mana 2/1 that hits you for every damage that it takes is not good enough anymore. But back in the day, this is what a good card looked like. We're also playing some fetch lands that go alongside Grim Lavamancer and Barbarian Ring, 4 copies of Barbarian Ring as well. And Curse Scroll, this is a card that doesn't really see any play basically anywhere else besides here, which is a sort of a repeatable source of damage, which is very cool. And 3 copies of Fire Blast. This is one of the most powerful burn spells ever printed. Sack 2 mountains and you get to deal 4 damage to any target. We're also playing 1 main deck copy of Sulfuric Vortex and 1 main deck copy of Price of Progress, kind of making room for some sideboard cards. In the sideboard we have copies of Pyroblast, Flaring Pain, damage can't be prevented this turn. This is to play around stuff like Circle of Protection Red. Price of Progress, extra copies of this, extra copies of Sulfuric Vortex as well. We also have Pyrokinesis in case we get paired against Elves, Goblins, stuff like that. And finally, Showering Pulse as a way to destroy artifacts. So this is the very first deck that we're going to be playing in this challenge with Brian Coval. The second deck we're going to be playing is an absolute fan favorite. This is Black-Green The Rock, the original one, named after Deranged Hermit, and actually a card that we're not playing, which is Phyrexian Plague Lord. But this is basically black-green mid-range with some discard spells. We have some duresses, some Coval therapies, a bunch of removal in Vendetta, Smother, Chainer's Edict, and very notoriously Pernicious Deed. This card obviously is an absolute banger. Sweep the board and get rid of not only enchantments and artifacts, but also creatures, and that does include creature land. So we can at instant speed activate Pernicious Deed if our opponent activates like a Mishra's Factory or whatever, and we can actually blow it up. Like back in the day, we would think about engineered explosives, but back in the day, these cards did not mess around. they did not go halfway. They went all the way, and we see that with Pernicious Deed for sure. We also have some value creatures in Wall of Roots and Wall of Blossoms, some classics, then some ways to get value in Yavimaya Elder. This card is basically a 5 mana draw 3, which is obviously very good. Recurrent Nightmare is a way to sort of have a mini engine going on. You can sacrifice your Ravenous Veilot, or you have your Blastoderms which die, and yes, these are like top tier creatures in this format. things have been a long way, and we can sacrifice our tokens in order to from the Range Hermit in order to get back good stuff like our Veilot or our Blastoderms. And Recurrent Nightmare is a way to accrue value over time. We can also turn our Wall of Blossoms, which draw cards, or Wall of Roots into real cards. and the way to win the game is going to be through beatdowns with Treetop Village and Mishra's Factory, or beatdowns with Rainer's Bailoff and Blastoderm. I'm also playing one of Spiritmonger because back in the day this was my favorite card of all time. I couldn't believe how a card could be so freaking strong, and like 5 mana 6/6 and no downside whatsoever. This was unheard of, and everybody lost their minds when this card was printed, and it ended up not being very good. In this table we have Haunting Echoes. This is an interesting card against combo. Engineer Plague, this is mostly against some sort of tribal decks, that is Elves, that is Goblins, etc. There's also Rebels in this format, notoriously. Smother and Chainer Edict are extra removal. Duress is extra discard spells. Spike Feeder, because as you know I was showing Sligh earlier, and the aggro decks are very real. Naturalize against just artifact destruction. Against graveyard decks like Reanimator and whatnot, we have Turmoil Script, and finally Dust Bowl, which can destroy lands in a recurable way. So this is going to be the second deck that we're going to play in this event. Coming up next, we have a very interesting combo deck, and this is StifleNaught. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to combo Phyrexian Dreadnought with either Stifle, in order to stifle the ETB trigger so we don't have to sacrifice our creatures, or Vision Charm, which is another way we can phase out our Phyrexian Dreadnought, and that way we can stop the trigger from destroying the creature. So we have 4 Dreadnoughts, and then we have 8 ways of preventing the Dreadnought from destroying itself. And what that does is it gives us a 2 mana and 2 card 12/12 Trampler, which should end the game fairly quickly. What we're trying to do is we're trying to assemble this combo, and we can kind of force our combo through using the rest, and then we have ways of protecting the combo. Vision Charm, of course, is a way to play around removal. We also have Daze, Boomerang, and Counterspell, and then 3 copies of Foil as a way to protect our creatures. Gush is a way to gain counter advantage, as well as we have Impulse and Portent as ways to manipulate our library. This is a sort of Delver deck in a way. We're playing 17 lands with some Lotus Petals, trying to combo as fast as possible, and this is a little bit of a Protect the Queen sort of strategy. So we're trying to force things through. We also have a singleton copy of Psychitog as a redundant threat, and this bad boy can end the game in a hurry as well. It not trampling obviously is a pretty significant downside, and that's why we are obviously trying to favor the Dreadnought instead. In the sideboard we have, I guess we do have one disrupt in the main deck, but we have another one in the sideboard. The idea is that we can use these to protect our big guy against removal. Blue Elemental Blast against red strategies. We also have access to Annul to counter artifacts and enchantments. Plague Spitter and Perish are ways to deal with specifically green creatures. With Perish, obviously, they really don't make them like they used to, huh? Just destroy green creatures, they can be regenerated for 3 mana. It's a good deal. And then Plague Spitter is a way to kind of have a repeatable sweeper. Against, there's Elves, there's Goblins, there are certain strategies we have very, very low toughness creature, like a bunch of ways to go wide, and Plague Speeder punishes that sort of strategies. We also have a removal in Smother and Vendetta, Powder Keg as another way to sweep the board, and a couple of copies of Stormer Script as a way to exile our opponent's graveyard. So we're going to see how this deck plays out. This is the one that I'm the most interested in terms of trying to see how it actually works. This is a very real deck, but it's a combo deck, so I don't know how I feel about playing this little amount of lands when you're trying to hit your land drops and do your stuff, but yeah, we're gonna see. Again, like I'm no expert in the format. I'm exploring just as you hopefully are. So it's very interesting to see how these archetypes are built and how they're developed. So one card I didn't talk about is Limdul's Vault. And this card is basically a tutor, right? Like it's a 2-mana tutor, but it's sort of a painful tutor. And if you get a little bit lucky, it's like a tutor for multiple cards, which is very, very interesting. You can set up the top of your deck, and then you can probably gush into the missing piece of the combo or whatever. So very interesting to try this deck out, and we're gonna see how it plays. As the 4th deck that we're gonna play today, we have I would say my favorite archetype out of all the ones that I'm going to be playing today. If you are familiar with my content, you know that I'm very much all about creature combo decks, particularly toolbox decks specifically. So what we have right here is Aluren. This is a deck that combos using this enchantment, which allows you to cast creature spells with CMC 3 or less without paying their mana cost and as though they had flash. So how does the combo work? You get a Cavern Harpy, allows you to bounce your own creature. So what you can do is you can use a Raven Familiar, which is a 3 mana 1/2 flying with Echo. That's, not the important part. The important part obviously is the ETB, which is you look at the top 3 cards of your library and then you put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. So what you do is you play your Raven Familiar, look at the top 3 cards, and then you play your Cavern Harpy. Cavern Harpy forces you to return a blue or black creature to its owner's hand, and you return your Raven Familiar, then you pay 1 life and you return the Harpy back to hand. And again, we can cast all of these cards without paying their mana cost because of the Aluren. So this deck has multiple combos going on. We can combo those two, and then we can basically draw an entire deck, or as much as we have, as long as we have life. But then we also have Soul Warden, which basically allows us to draw an entire deck because it counters the life loss from the Harpy, allows us to gain infinite life instead. Cloud of Fairies means that we have access to infinite mana. Wirewood Savage is another way that we can draw an entire deck because, we can basically bounce the Cavern Harpy, and you can actually bounce itself. So since it's a beast, it comes into play, you draw a card, and then you bounce the Cavern Harpy itself, and you repeat this while drawing a card with every single iteration. And then Manowar as a way to bounce your opponent's stuff, and then you can do the same thing. Now, the beautiful thing is that we have a Wish sideboard. We have a bunch of Wish targets in the sideboard, and we'll see which ones come into play, but we have repeat copies of Soul Warden, Raven Familiar, Cloud of Fairies, and Wirewood Savage over here, as well as Cavern Harpy, and a card I didn't talk about in Veteran Explorer. Veteran Explorer is our mana engine. We can play Explorer and sacrifice it to Cabal Therapy in order to fetch for our basics, and that way we can have some more mana to do more stuff, basically. We can also destroy your own Veteran Explorer with Pernicious Deed or with Phyrexian Tower. And you can notice that we're going to notice that you also have a Phyrexian Tower in the sideboard because Living Wish allows you to get both lands and creatures. This card is very, very good. So in the sideboard we have extra copies of those. So Living Wish is basically a proxy for whichever piece of the combo you're missing. And then we actually have an interesting card in Maggot Carrier, which is a way to actually end the game. Because after you're establishing your loop and doing all your things, you can Living Wish for your Maggot Carrier and actually end the game on the spot, which is a very interesting win condition. You can also, wish for the tower, so you can sacrifice your Explorer and get some mana if that's what you're going for, or we can also have access to Academy Rector. Academy Rector is a card that you can wish for, and it's an indirect way to get Aluren into play. So you can sacrifice your Rector to tower or to Cabal Therapy, get the Aluren in play, and then you can go off from there. Then we have a couple of little toolbox creatures in Monk Realist. This is one that when there's in the battlefield you destroy target enchantment. Then we have Bone Shredder, which enters the battlefield and destroys a non-artifact, non-black creature. Then we have Uktabi Orangutan, which is 3 mana, 2/2. These are the famous love monkeys, however you want to say them. Enters the battlefield, destroys an artifact. And then the last one is Mesmeric Fiend, which is a fantastic card against combo strategies. So that's what we're going to be playing today. Finally, we have a couple of copies of Engineered Plague. These are the only real sideboard cards, the only known two-door targets, or known wish targets, I should say. And these are obviously against the decks that are tribal decks. So this is the deck that I'm the most excited about trying. One thing I didn't talk about is we also have access to Intuition and Factor Fiction. FOF obviously is great card advantage, while Intuition is just a two-door target, so if it's basically extra copies of Aluren. We can Intuition for 3 copies of Aluren. Our opponent is forced to give us the missing piece. Also, we can, we have 3 copies of Cavern Harpy, so we can go fetch Living Wish, Raven Familiar, or Pernicious Deed. Like any of those cards we can Intuition for, and our opponent is forced to give it to us. And even after we discard some of those, we can Gaia's Blessing them back in case we need to. So even if our Allurens get discarded or stuff like that, we can Gaia's Blessing them back into the deck, and then we can Intuition for them. So that's very, very cool. really looking forward to trying this deck. Like this, I've been trying to play, this deck in pre-modern for a really long time, and actually I'm very, very close to finishing the deck in paper. So that's even more exciting. I'm only missing one Academy Rector, so really excited to take it for a spin here and see how it plays out. And we finally get to the last one. This is Goblins. This is one of the tier 1 decks of the format. The deck is just exactly what you would expect it to be. It's what it is in Legacy, and also similar to what it is in Modern. So we have 4 copies of Goblin Lackey, and this is our little mana ramp / engine and unbeatable engine. So you get your Lackey online, and then you start speeding a bunch of Goblins into play, and we have a bunch of tutor targets and good stuff. So let's get started and talk about this. So we have our lackeys, we have Mock Fanatic. This is just to ping opposing creatures. A lot of utility in the format with Birds of Paradise. And one thing to note is that this format's mana is pretty bad. So this deck can really punish greedy mana bases thanks to Rishadan Port and Wasteland, while you can kill your opponent's Birds of Paradise and mess with their mana that way as well. Then we have Skill Prospector as a way to make extra mana. Goblin Pile Driver hits very, very hard, and protection from blue is quite important in a format with a pretty reasonable amount of blue, and stuff like Hydroblast, Goblin Pile Driver dodges, which is very nice. We have 4 copies of Gem Palm Incinerator. This is a way that we can actually have a removal, and we draw a card in the process. Goblin Matron is effectively Demonic Tutor, so obviously very, very good. Goblin Sharpshooter is an interesting one. This doesn't really see play in Legacy anymore, so it's not a card that sees a crazy amount of play, but it can really ping down a bunch of smaller creatures. So because you're untapping it with every single creature that dies, you can basically destroy a board of 1/1s, or you can also combo with Scarce Prospector or with Siege-Gang Commander. You can sacrifice your own creatures and untap the Sharpshooter once again, so that way you can throw a bunch of pings all around and basically obliterate your opponent's board. We also have access to Goblin Warchief, which is a way to make our goblins cheaper and for them to have haste, which is very, very powerful. And Goblin King is the best lord that we have in the format. You're going to see that multiple decks that I presented today are playing Engineer the Plague, and Goblin King is a way to work around it. Like having multiple Goblin Kings in play is a way to beat opposing Engineer Plague. So you're going to see that we have a couple of copies in the main deck and 1 extra copy in the sideboard as well. Finally, we have Ringleader and Siege-Gang Commander, obviously absolute bangers. Ringleader gives crazy card advantage in a deck that is 36 creatures, so we're going to be drawing between 2 and 3 cards the majority of the time. And finally, Siege-Gang Commander as a way to, or top end, and a way to basically bring down and turn all of our little goblin tokens or like random silly goblins into shocks that go face. In the sideboard, we have Pyrokinesis to kill opposing creature decks, Sulfuric Vortex against control and decks with life gain and stuff like that. Goblin King, as I already said, as a way to beat Engineer Plague. Blood Moon as a way to beat lands decks. There's actually a reasonable amount of decks that are based on lands, stuff like Standstill or even actual lands decks. Price of Progress as another way to hate on land-based strategies. Pyroblast against blue decks, of course, and finally Tormod Script against graveyard strategies. We're going to be playing all of these 5 decks against Brian, and you may be asking, who's Brian? Well, Brian is Bosh N Roll, and we're about to meet him right now.
What's up? Welcome to the Premodern Challenge. I'm Bosh N Roll. I'm here with...
I'm F. Fablush, also known as Francisco.
Francisco and I are battling off Premodern today. One of my Patreon subscribers, Nageldak, put up $500 to make this happen. Like, wanted to see a $500 battle of Premodern, and we're doing that. $100 a match in a format that I have not really played, at least not as a format. I've played a lot of these decks when they were just called Extended or Standard. I did a bit of that, but I have not played this specifically against other Premodern decks. I know you have a little bit, like I've done a little bit of research, I've watched some videos, I have friends who play the format, but in general, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, and I can't wait because these decks look awesome.
Every single one of these decks is an absolute delight. I cannot wait to play any of this. Personally, I have a little bit of Premodern experience, but all of my experience has been super casual. Like, when I started playing back in Odyssey, My brother and I, we had like a bunch of these cards, and then I took a long break. And when I started things up, nostalgia always hits. So as soon as I heard that Premodern was a thing, I'm like, wait a second. Do you mean that I can get back all my cards from back then? And like I built a gauntlet because cards that I could not afford at all back then are like $2 right now. So I have like a bunch of these decks, and every matchup is just so fun. Like it's just Magic like the old days. No planeswalkers to worry about. You can have like all of these cards that are sweet, but not good enough to break into the formats that they're actually legal in. So we're going to be casting some Vendettas. We're going to be casting some maybe Spirit Mongers. We're going to be casting some Blastoderms. And we have some spicy ones for you today.
I am excited about those cards you just named because The Rock is one of the decks you have. The classic The Rock black-green deck. I'm excited about that. Just real quick, I'm playing Elves, Standstill, Mud, RecSur, and TerraGeddon today. What are your decks?
Yeah. I'm going to be playing The Rock, as you just said. I'm going to be playing Blue-Black StifleNaught. We're going to be playing Sligh.
Yes.
Mono-Red Goblins, and probably my single favorite, Aluren.
Oh, a real combo deck in the mix there. Big fan.
And that's one thing that I want to say. Like the beautiful thing about this format is have prison decks in the format. Like it's actually a lot more diverse than you would expect for a format that does not really get any new cards ever. The amount of decks that are available, it's incredible, and the format is actually pretty diverse and dynamic as well. Like it changes a fair amount. Like new archetypes get just appear out of nowhere every now and then.
Yes, it's very cool. I'm very excited about all these matchups, and we decided that we're just going to queue into each other like it's a tournament. I know what your 5 decks are. You know what my 5 decks are, but we didn't preset the matchups. We didn't try to pair them to be interesting. We didn't like set up anything. We're just going to queue into each other 5 times. And until the last round where we have process of elimination, we won't know what the matchup is till it's in front of us, which, I mean, knowing what's in your stable, your first land drop, I could probably figure out what your deck is, but that's how we decided to randomize it, just not tell each other what we're going to bring. So it's not true random, but I mean, we didn't plan for any of this.
Yeah. Like if you were familiar with the format, that's kind of how it would play out anyway. You know, like if you're very familiar with how the pre-modern format and the metagame looks like, you would know, okay, if my opponent goes turn 1, versus Paradise, there's like limited amount of decks that your opponent could be playing if they do that. And obviously, if they go turn 1 lucky, you're pretty certain of what they're up to over there. So
I wonder what this is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a nice tech in The Rock, but it's one of those things where you kind of try to recreate the actual experience of playing a tournament if you were to.
Yes, this is a snapshot of a very specific period of Magic. We don't have Power 9. We don't have anything like that. We don't have Planeswalkers like you mentioned. We don't have anything like that. This is from 1995 to 2003. The card pool is sealed and locked. There will not be more cards in it. It's all just what you want to innovate with the cards that exist. And there's a lot of decks that we're not featuring here. We tried to pick 10 of the most popular according to premodernmagic.com. All of my lists are pulled directly from that site, and shout out to them. Really cool resource there. They made it very easy for me to figure out decks and what even the rules of the format were, coming from basically zero. And shout out to them. I'll have them linked in my video description, of course.
Yeah, I know, and the Premodern community is pretty fantastic. Like everybody is like super into the format, and they like to do stuff. And one thing that I wanted to say is that it's very purposely, like the idea of the format is very purposely try to make it not legacy, because that would be like a pretty easy thing. If you have Force of Will, every blue deck's going to be playing 4 copies of Force of Will. That's just a thing that's going to happen. So there's a very specific curated ban list where Brainstorm's not in the format, Force of Will is not in the format, Entomb is not in the format. So a bunch of cards that you would expect to be, absolute, pillars of the format and much better than everything else are not legal. And this is very, very important because specifically of, what we're trying to do here, we're trying to create a very distinct format. And I think that they did a very good job at doing that.
Yeah, this is definitely its own thing. Just looking at the card pool in the decks, I feel like the play patterns are going to be similar to Pioneer. Like, I think Modern is a more powerful format than Pre-Modern, but Pioneer looks like it's sort of in the same pocket. Like, they have Planeswalkers, we don't. We have Survival of the Fittest, they don't. So, like, obviously different cards, different engines, but, like, I think the you get what you pay for out of your mana, not a lot of free spells, not a lot of surprise BS. We're gonna be tapping mana and slinging spells back and forth, and games are gonna go for a while, and I'm excited about it.
No, and one thing that you're saying is true. Like everything is a little bit more fair, you know. Like everything is like you don't have to play around the cards that I was saying earlier for sure. And yeah, it's the mana bases are limited, so you're going to see us very likely have some trouble sometimes to cast our spells, particularly when we're trying stuff like 3 or 4 colors, like I'm doing in Aluren, for example. Things may get dicey, but that's in a way part of the appeal of the format to me, because it feels like that's what Magic was originally about. Like, and even more so, like the original Mulligan rule was an absolute disaster, right? So like matches were indeed decided by like it's sort of charming in a way.
Yeah.
That mana screw is the problem. Like we've grown so accustomed to like triumphs and fetch lands, and like everything always works. So it's just like jam a bunch of like the most powerful cards legal in the format and just call it a day. You know, like we see this in Legacy all the time with control decks. You know, but here it's just you need to be very careful. Like, okay, is it worth it for me to go ahead and try to splash this 3rd color? Like, what am I getting out of the deal versus like the real cost of trying to make my mana base work? It's a hustle. It's a hustle, but that's part of the appeal and part of the charm of the format.
Yeah, when I was putting my list together, I spent some amount of time laughing to myself that my RecSur deck has 1 Bloodstained Mire in it, and it's just to get Swamp or Mountain. There's no dual lands in the format. Shocklands weren't out yet. Dual lands are before, and they just fetch basics, and it just whoever put that list together did the math and found that 1 Bloodstained Mire amidst the City of Brasses and Painlands and basics was the right call, and I hope that comes up because I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Is there anything else you want to say before we jump in and play these matches?
The only thing I can say is let's not say anything and let's play some pre-modern.
Let's do it. I'll see you in the trenches.
Let's do it. All right, we're starting round 1 of this pre-modern event against Bosh N Roll, and we're playing Sligh for our first match. And this hand looks fantastic. Let's skip it. Turn 1 Goblin Patrol. Turn 2 pay for Echo, play Green Lava Man, swing for 2. Man, this is just look at this opening hand. One thing that I wanted to point out that we didn't talk about in the intro is the fact that in pre-modern, even though obviously the old border cards look so much better, right? It's perfectly fine if you don't have the exact version of the card. You can just play, you know, a different edition. Like there's no problem about it, but it's just, you know, kind of up to you. So turn 1 Goblin Patrol, and we're gonna see what Brian is up to over there. All right, we pass the turn. Brian goes to main phase, and drum roll. Let's see what he's up to over there. Turn 1 Mistress Factory. So probably land still, I imagine? We're gonna see. Definitely paying for the Echo here. Easy pay. Otherwise we get nothing out of it. And yeah, let's get over there. Let's do this thing. And I'm just gonna play the Lava Man, and we're gonna send the turn back. This is Sligh, baby. This is Sligh. We're not holding back here. This is what we're doing. Opponent down to 18. So he plays Wasteland. Okay, so things get a little bit tricky now because we're not gonna be able to attack unless I guess he maybe wants to play for the trade for the factory. But what I'm gonna do is I guess I'm just gonna bolt him, right? Yeah. So I'm just gonna swing with both of them. And if he wants to block, he just risks getting owned by my bolt. As we said in the intro, there's no such thing as Force of Will that we need to play around. Brian doesn't have any islands for days or anything like that, so we're going to be good to go here. We're just going to send with both of them. If Brian wants to attempt to block, we're just going to bolt the Mistress Factory because obviously it can pump itself. And I think it's better to do that and deploy a second patrol as opposed to incinerating the Mishra's Factory. Yeah, he correctly knows that I have something going on, so I'm just gonna sink here. Like, this lightning bolt is gonna do so much work here. Okay, now that Brian plays the City of Traders, now we know that he's actually on mud, which maybe it's a little bit scarier than what I originally thought. Oh wow, that's a brutal tangle wire. So do I have to bolt right now? Do I have to bolt right now on end step? So I can bolt him going down to 13, down to 12. I untap, and I think I'm gonna be paying for. I think I'm gonna be paying for the Echo on my patrol, so I'm not gonna be able to attack here. This Tangled Wire was insane. That was such a good turn for him. He has Powder Keg. That would be an absolute blowout, but I think if he had Powder Keg, he would have probably played it right there. So I think I'm just gonna pass the turn, and I'm just gonna pay for patrol upkeep. And yeah, he basically cast a Fog here. He basically cast a Time Walk, which is obviously very strong, considering that he has a Thrawn Dynamo in play. Not finding a land there is pretty brutal, but I think that we are, as of right now, we're probably slightly behind. That was definitely a sick turn, and obviously he stacks his triggers properly, and he only taps 3 things with Tangled Wire, including the Tangled Wire itself. He's tapping Factory. Okay, so with him tapping Factory, I'm a lot more interested in... Oh no, don't play a Masticore. Do it. Don't play a Masticore. Oh, that Masticore is such a beating. Wow. Wow. So at this point, I think I'm pretty far behind. So I probably need to get lucky and draw exactly a land, meaning that I'm gonna tap the patrol and both of my mountains to the Tangled Wire. If I draw a land, I didn't find land, so I'm just gonna pass. Look, so the plan there was we find the land, and that actually allows me to get in for 2 damage, because I don't think that Brian's gonna block with the Masticore while he can't regenerate. So yeah, I think that we are in pretty bad shape now. That Tangled Wire was an absolute beating. If he hadn't had the wire, we would have been able to get in for 5 damage last turn. And with 2 bolts, Incinerate, and double Fire Blast in hand, of course the second Fire Blast doesn't really do anything because I don't have enough mana to sacrifice. But that would have put me in a situation where I would have been able to maybe not care about the Masticore, because I can just kill him out of nowhere with just burn. Discards Mishra's Helix to the Masticore, which makes sense as this card just doesn't do anything right now. I only have 2 lands. Ursa's Bubble. He has to see the Fire Blast now. So this thing is basically unbeatable for me, right? Once this thing hits play, like it's just game over. Like there's nothing for me to do. Wow, cycling land. This list looks really sweet. Also, shout out to Brian for like finding old bordered versions of every single card. Oof, he's getting in there. Ugh. Yeah, we're probably just dead here. Even with Brian being at virtual 11. Oh, wait a second. I can just double bolt him on upkeep. Or I incinerate him. So I incinerate him down to 12. I then have double bolt down to 6. And I can bring him down to 2. Okay, so I guess if I draw another lightning bolt, we could be in business. So now my stuff is tapped. Well, actually, that doesn't do anything with a Masticore in play. So that doesn't really help me. So I have 10 points of damage here. If I draw another Incinerate or another Bolt, I can maybe raise this Masticore, because he's going to swing for 6 here, down to 8, then 6 more next turn, down to 2, and if I have 2 draw steps to find either a Lightning Bolt or another Incinerate. Unless he has another way to make the clock shorter. That doesn't do it, actually. That doesn't do it. I am gonna slam double Lightning Bolt here, though. Bolt you. Bolt you. So I guess I have to draw a Lightning Bolt now, because he has the Helix. So I have to draw him all right here. Okay, that's a land. Oh, I should have held on to that, I think. No, I shouldn't, because if I draw another mountain now, I can double Fire Blast. And I wouldn't be surprised, like what Brian's going to do here is he's going to tap my Bloodstained Mire. And what I'm going to have to do is oh, he didn't. Oh, because I can just Fire Blast his Masticore, so he's holding up Regeneration mana. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, I'm going face, though. So he taps a bunch of mana. Please don't have lethal. Bosh. That's lethal, I think, right? Flagging non-creature artifact. So he gets a 5/5 and a 3/3. That's very lethal. Wow. That's a good one for him to have. I think I had one turn where I could have fired off the bolts. The thing is that I don't have bolts to fire off right now, so that wouldn't have really changed anything for me. So I guess what I have to do here is Fire Blast this. But if I Fire Blast that, then I don't have enough to kill him. Wait a second. Fire Blast here. No, I'm just not gonna have them. Yeah, we're just dead. Like, I'm gonna do it for show. Like, no, I don't really have a way to win the game anymore. Because the card's just gonna kill me. But man, pretty brutal. Man, what a swing! Like, this deck is super swingy. This deck seems super swingy. Like, you go from losing to just winning by so much. Ooh, this card looks good. let's bring in this card. Oh yeah, that one too. Reasonable card there. Vortex is interesting. Probably Shattering Pulse. I don't want Pyrokinesis. On the play, Ball Lightning seems a lot more exciting. I'm not sure about Vortex. Vortex is interesting though, because it just represents more damage. I do like Jackal Pop. Not super big fan of Patrol. It's probably fine on the play. Yeah, I think that Ball Lightning is just going to be more damage, particularly on the play. Maybe on the draw I'll cut them. Fire Blast is fine. Price of Progress is just absolutely insane. So I think on the play I'm going to cut one Lava Man. We're going to have time for Curse Scroll. Cut one Scroll. Maybe one Firebolt. I could see Golden Patrol being worse than Firebolt. And I could also see Golden Patrol being worse than Curse Scroll. But yeah, Curse Scroll is probably bad, actually. Yeah, I think Scroll is just bad. My opponent's gonna, make me tap mana for stuff every time. And I'm not, like, a big fan of having this many X1s. So I do think that cutting maybe one Lava Man is fine. Board Lightning against Masticore. Not where you want to be. Boom. Game number 2. This hand is really good. Keep this hand. Turn 1, Puppy. Turn 2, we're going to play Lava Man. And we're already going to have stuff to activate. It's pretty strong. Like, these fetch lands are pretty solid. Okay, play our Mire. Any fetch land is the same. Fetch Mounting, which is the only thing that we can fetch. Play our little puppy dog. Boom. Factory again, turn 1. Ball Lightning is a really good draw, I think. That is so much damage. So get in there with the pup. Play Lava Man. I think I just want a Firebolt here. Just put stuff in my graveyard. Allows me to be mana efficient. Because next turn my mana is going to be all tied up in this Ball Lightning, which I want to cast as soon as I can. Really want to dodge Bottle Gnomes. That card seems pretty problematic for me. Oof. Ancient Tomb. Ugh, Tangled Wire, so brutal. Okay, so... Oh, I should have probably activated the Lava Man there. Splay Foothills and say go. My opponent has Wasteland, so I'm not super excited about playing out the Barbarian Ring. So he taps out. The difference is, like, this time he did play the Tangled Wire on turn 2, but he doesn't have the crazy mana generation that is the other thing, right? The Throne Dynamo. So here I think we're just gonna tap these 3 and get in there with the pup. Pop you. So next turn we're gonna be able to pop and actually Lava Man as well, which is pretty nice. Tangled Wire is so brutal. I wonder if he's gonna tap the Ancient Tomb. That's kind of what I would be interested in doing. So this is 4th, 5th card in my graveyard. This is gonna be the 6th card in my graveyard. Ugh, Wasteland. 2nd Tangled Wire, devastating. Okay, at this point, this is gonna be 6 things. That's all of my permanents. So I'm just gonna activate this Grim Lavamancer. And I'm gonna fetch right now because otherwise I'm exposing the mountain to a wasteland. So here on upkeep, I'm just gonna shock him. Which means that we're further away from Barbarian Ring, but he's probably gonna wasteland my Barbarian Ring anyway. So tap those. Oops. Tap these. Okay. That's a good draw. That's a good draw. So play out the ring, pass the turn, end step bolt him, upkeep, activate Lavaman again. That's gonna be 5 damage. He goes down to 1. And he needs to answer my Grim Lavamancer, otherwise he just dies to it. Port 2. Man, that deck is great. that deck is so good. Vulture. I mean, he needs to answer this Lavaman. So there's gonna be 4 things that I have to tap, but he does have a factory that he can attack with, which makes things really awkward for me. So let's think about this. If I activate here, he goes down to 5. Next turn, he has to tap only 2 things. He's gonna have like access to all of his mana. If he has a Masticore, he needs to tap Ancient Tombs, so he's dead. Anyways, yeah. So I'm activating Lavaman here, because in order to play a Masticore and answer my Grim Lavaman, he would need to tap the Ancient Tomb. So I think we win here. Question mark? Not super certain about that, but I'm moderately certain about that. Firebolt is a nice little bit of insurance. Which is nice. What's the worst thing that could happen to me? Bottle Gnomes. If Brian has Bottle Gnomes, I think we may lose. That's the only card that I'm really afraid of right here. Which is really funny, right? Because, Bottle Gnomes are kind of cute. Ooh, he's tapping everything. Damage will deal to a player. That player exiles as many cards from top of his library. Boom! Fire Blast you! Got him! Oh, get there. Sweet, awesome. We get a game there. On the draw, this card looks very bad. So let's get rid of that. Let's bring in the other Lavaman. Curse Scroll is kind of shaky, but it's probably fine. It's basically, do I want Cursed Scroll or do I want Vortex? I guess I probably want Scroll, because Scroll I can play preemptively, and then like a bunch of his effects that gain that tap my stuff work on upkeep, which means that I'm not gonna have mana on my main phase, but I'm gonna have mana on my upkeep. So I think I'm gonna go for 4 Scroll, 1 Vortex, and this is what it's gonna be. Yeah. Game number 3 on the draw. Now things are a lot scarier. I'm probably keeping this hand 10 out of 10 times, right? Don't love that I have Patrol instead of the other little guy, the Jackal Pup, but it's fine. Like, I have some amount of lands and I have my best card in the matchup, which is Price of Progress. So this seems fine. We're gonna send with the Patrol Powder Keg. Okay, so that means that I'm gonna get at least 2 damage out of the Patrol. So yes, swing for 2. So this just triggers at the beginning of upkeep. So, and then he can activate this anytime. So there's really no use in me playing this. I'm just gonna pass the turn. So I'm just gonna chill on this Patrol for a second here, and I think that I'm going to be directing one of these lightning bolts at my opponent's face. Wasteland's pretty bad for us here, awkwardly enough. Yeah, Bottle Gnomes is so brutal. Bottle Gnomes is so bad for us. Ugh. Like, I have to send one of these lightning bolts here, and then he cracks Powder Keg, gains 3 life in the process. Like, Bottle Gnomes is such a beating here. Like, I'm gonna have to cast this bolt here, but is there a way that I can pressure his life total enough? We're gonna be bolting here for 3. Next turn, I'm gonna Price of Progress. That's 6. He goes down to 9. Then we bolt again down to 6. It's just not enough. Just not enough. And if I kill this now, maybe he cracks the Powder Keg. Yeah, I have to kill the Bottle Gnomes, I think. Yeah, that's just such a brutal exchange for me. Like, effectively, he gains 6 life. Play my Mountain. Attempt to swing for 2. Maybe he'll crack here. Save some life. He does. Okay, so this means I can play the second one. We got the Shattering Pulse, which is nice to blow up most anything that he can play. Wasteland, my ring. Yeah, that happens. Could float mana in response, but it's just probably not a great idea. Gonna pay for Echo. Wonder if he taps me here. He does. Okay, so this means I have a free attack, which is nice. Trying to dodge another Wasteland, which would be a little bit problematic, but City of Traders probably gonna be an issue. Karn. Well, that I'm just gonna kill that, I think. So we're gonna Bolt Face, then Shattering Pulse the Karn. Getting there for 2. So Price of Progress is worth 8 damage at this point. My opponent would go down to 6. So if I draw a land, I have enough to kill him. Cycling. Maybe he's out of gas. Maybe he's out of gas. Okay, here we go. Taps mana, Wire. So Wire means that I'm going to be incinerating here. He goes down to 11. Top my things. It's a basic mountain. It's not the worst, actually. So now we're going to hit what he taps. Probably taps both ports and the Wire. So he's at a virtual 7 here. Another city. So we really don't want to see Bottle Gnomes. Let's see what he has. 5 mana, Karn. So I think this is lethal now, right? So this is 8 plus 4, that's 12. Price of Progress, Fire Blast, you. Boom, baby! Boom! Got there with Sligh. This deck looked pretty good. This actually looked very, very good. We even had 2 extra damage in there because we stacked our lands and stuff. So now we actually had 2 extra damage. That was sick. That was sick. Great that this deck allows us to play at instant speed so well. So the Tangled Wire didn't... Like, it was good game 1, but it wasn't as good on the other game. So good stuff. See you next round. Welcome to round number 2. We're going to be playing some The Rock right now. And I think this hand's pretty good. Let's keep it. We can go turn 1, Land Our Wastes and go. Turn 2, Wall of Roots. And I'm probably going to sit there for a second. Because obviously I'm going to have to know what Brian's up to before I can get some value from this therapy. But we can preemptively play our Recurrent Nightmare, kind of have it sitting there. We have Pernicious Deed available to us. We know that Brian can't be playing Mud, which is good because we already eliminated that option. So I imagine Mud would be a terrible matchup for this deck. So yeah, I think this is fine. I imagine that pause was because he was trying to figure out which decks I'm playing, which could be, at this point, it could be either The Rock or Aluren. So he plays Treetop Village. Boom. Treetop Village into Mox Diamond, that means TerraGeddon. That means TerraGeddon. So let's do this. And I'm a little bit tempted to next turn play a Deed. Because if we play a Deed, we can actually get rid of all of his stuff. Like all of his Moxen and whatnot. So that seems very valuable if my opponent's trying to Armageddon me. So play our wall, pass the turn. Next turn is going to be a little bit more interesting because it's going to give me more information too. Ooh, he plows. Okay. Okay. Basic Forest in Mulch. Wow. Legacy Staple. Legacy Staple Mulch. He only gets 1 Windswept Heath out of the deal, so it's not that bad for us. Not that bad for us. Man. Do I want therapy here, name Armageddon? Because I do have multiple options, right? Like I can name Armageddon, I can play out the Pernicious Deed. The problem is if I play out the Deed, then Brian just doesn't play anything anymore. Like I can play out the Deed, then he... Yeah, playing out the Deed is just bad. I definitely don't want to activate Factory because he could have another Plow. So I guess I have to Therapy. And I'm going to Therapy. He has a couple of Seal of Cleansing, 4 Werebear, 4 Terravore. I think I'm going to Therapy Armageddon. Because it's the card that I lose to hardest, basically. He can't have stuff like 7 Alliance and whatnot because he would have played it already. Werebear, Mulch, STP. Okay. I guess I'm going to play a land and pass the turn. So he plays Mulch again. And he draws just a Secluded Step. Man, he's been kind of whiffing on those. I imagine he's going to play Werebear, which is going to be 4/4. That's no joke. Okay, so there's the Werebear. He has 1 unknown card. Okay. It's not a bad draw. We get Super Host by We get super hosted by Armageddon at this point, but I don't think I can beat it anyway. So I'm just gonna play my Blasto and say pass the turn, because this also kind of hides the fact that I have a DD in hand, and maybe, I mean, he can play more Moxen, but maybe he'll play like a Terravor or something, and then I can blow him out. Still losing pretty hard on Armageddon, so I think if I draw any more lands, I'm not gonna play them. Second Werber. This Blasto just holding the ground, huh? This Blastoderm just holding the ground, preventing him from attacking. So I can chill this turn, play my deed. Never mind. Alright, so I'm gonna have to play both deeds then. Ravenous Veil. So I can actually sack my Blasto with the counter. So I think I'm just gonna... if I play this out, it just gets plowed though. It's not a great exchange for me. So I can just save this Blasto to therapy him. So I'm just gonna play this out, force the crack on the seal. We're ridiculously dead to an Armageddon. We're so dead to an Armageddon. He should probably crack right now. I guess like he can crack next turn, because otherwise I'm just, I'm not... Because if he cracks, then I crack my deed and I blow up the Mox Diamond for free, so... Wasteland. Pretty rough. We're definitely a little bit short on mana here. I mean, he has to crack seal now, otherwise I just blow everything up next turn. So land's gone. I imagine he's gonna seal now, and I crack for 0. Blows up the diamond. Now I play another deed. Blastoderm holding the ground. So black, 1, green. Taking a pretty significant amount of damage here, but kind of is what it is. It is what it is. So I'm gonna have one more turn with the Blastoderm, and then I'm gonna... Yeah, this is a very good attack from him, obviously, because he knows that the Werevers are dying, and he also knows that the Blastoderm is dying, so pretty solid attack for him. Obviously no attack with the Tritop, because that's the card that actually matters. Basic Swamp. Okay. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swing here with the Blastoderm, because this guy's dying regardless. And I think I'm gonna chill on this Pernicious Deed now. So what we can do is we can play the Baloth and gain 8 life. Or alternatively, I can sack Therapy. Like, I'm gonna be taking 2 damage here, which I'm not super excited about. So I probably have to play the Baloth and force him to... Probably have to play the Baloth and force him to plow it. But then I can sack the Blastoderm. Maybe I should have held on to the Blastoderm as a blocker. Yeah, that was bad, actually. I shouldn't have attacked. I shouldn't have attacked because I could have basically held... No, that's not true, because I would have liked to get value from that Blastoderm dying anyway. So yeah, it actually doesn't work. So what I can do next turn, if I want to, is I can bring back the Ravenous Veloth, which is nice. 3 top. So it is a hit for 7. But now I can recur Nightmare. I mean, ideally I would draw like a basic forest. Another wastes. That's fine. I'm gonna play the Hermit, I think. Play Hermit. Chumps the Werber pretty nicely. I'm probably not gonna pay the Echo for it. And the Squirrel tokens block the Treetop very nicely too. So that's kind of cool. And then we can Nightmare, get back Baloth probably. Like I'm probably assuming, so we're gonna say no. Probably assuming that I can't beat... He has 3 cards in hand. I'm assuming that I cannot beat Armageddon. So playing around Armageddon doesn't make too much sense. But we can get a ton of value here. So Nightmare. We're gonna get back Hermit. And this is what we call a combo. Do I want to therapy him? I think I do. It's not getting better for me, so... Yeah, I was gonna name Plow anyway. Yeah, so he does get the Plow. So I guess I should have done this in opposite order, because I was gonna name Plow anyway. So that was pretty poor sequencing on my part. So what could he have? He probably has either Werever or Terravor, because if he had Armageddon, he would have cast it. So he has a creature. He has creatures in hand. He can't have Mox Diamond. He can't have more STPs. Actually, he may have more STPs. He has only 1 left though. So I'm just gonna name Terravor here. because he can only have creatures, really. 7 Alliance. Okay, yeah. I mean, that, it's a situation where, we're kind of going to find where it was going to be a creature regardless, right? So now this turn, we're going to recur Nightmare the Baloth, I think. We could get the Blasto. Interesting. Very interesting. So he's trying to race because he knows that it's just too much otherwise. Like, it's just going to be too much value otherwise. He knows that my engine is going. But I'll definitely take answering that. And now he's probably going to play out the 7 Alliance. But it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to do the thing again. Now he drew the Werebear. Okay. Duress. Right on time. So let's just Nightmare back the Blastoderm and pass the turn. I don't think I care about the 7 Alliance, so sacking my Squirrel token for the Lion doesn't really make too much sense. Take it. He can still cast Armageddon. If he does find Armageddon, then we're going to be in a situation where I'm just probably going to crack and bring him down to nothing. So the play here, I'm probably just going to fading, yeah. So I'm just going to probably, yeah. Let's Nightmare for Baloth, sacking a Squirrel token. I'm going to do that first, then I'm just going to crack Deed. Last Squirrel token dies, but now I'm just super far ahead. Now even if he rats, like if he Armageddons, I'm the one that's ahead here. So, like in fact, if he Geddons, he just dies. So, that's a big boy. That's a hell of a big boy. Terravore tramples. That's wild. Well, that swings the game. That swings this game pretty significantly. Okay. We can only Nightmare as a sorcery. So let's just play a Baloth. Man, we'll be taking so much damage. So now I have to like triple block. Oh, I'm actually just dead, aren't I? Yeah, like drawing this Pain Lands was just too much, I think. Yeah, he has to attack here. He attacks with both. I have to throw everything in front of the Terravore and then just triple chomping effectively. Yep. Yeah, attack with both. That's the right play. Wow. Man, like this game had so many swings. I thought I could never win, then I thought I could never lose, and then this guy just showed up. Wow. I really needed to draw like a Smother or something. Yeah. So this is the better block because I'm just gonna sack everything anyway. So I have to sack this. And then this is gonna trample for 2. And I'm at 3. Wow, these Pain Lands really were painful, huh? Yeah, I'm dead. Brutal. Okay, sideboarding. What do we want? Haunting Echoes. Cards for each card, it says the library for all cards. This card is actually legit. Oh, it only exhausts cards from the library, not cards from the... Oh yeah, this card's actually not very good. Yeah, this card's not very good. I probably want... I mean, I definitely want the extra Smother and maybe the Chainer's Edict. Duresses are pretty medium, like he doesn't have that many spells. So the only reason for the Duresses really is just to enable like my Cabal therapies, but I can just be good instead. I can just not suck. Man, like, yeah, my Elder seems so good against this deck. This is the card that I want to see. Spiritmonger, probably not great against the STP deck. Spike Feeder, not too high about. Dust Bowl? Not really. Yes, once round, not very good. Thermal Script is interesting though. Maybe just, man. Because like the only reason to play Thermal Script is because of Goose, and I guess they also have Werebear. I'm gonna play 1, but not 2. Graveyard Hate in this format is not great. Maybe Wither Wretch should be an interesting card. That's like BB for a 2/2 zombie, and you pay 1, and it's basically Scavenging Ooze. You exile a card from the graveyard. You don't gain life, but I don't think I care about Plague. Don't think I care about Feeder. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this. I'm kind of thinking here whether I want something like Dust Bowl just to increase my land count, because like this matchup seems very much about hitting my land drops. I think what I want to do is just draw my Elder every single time. And I used to love this card so much when I was a kid. Game number 2 on the play. Yeah, my Elder, keep it. Again with the pain lands, man. This is rough. It's rough out there. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the basic and just pass the turn. I'm gonna cast the Wall on turn 2 anyways, but actually Wall of Blossom seems really good against him. Vomit. Smother. Nope. I mean, I can't not do the thing, right? So play my Wall. There's a green source, so I can play Elder next turn. Actually, do I even want to play Elder here? Because if I play Elder, I wonder if he gets Wasteland here. That would be appealing, actually. Because what he can do is he can Wasteland my Wastes. And then, in fact, what he can do, which is even cooler, is he plays something that's not a Wasteland. And next turn, like he can use fetch lands and Wasteland to hold priority, and then activate Wayfarer that way, which is pretty interesting. I'm just gonna go Deed here. It puts more pressure on him, and I can just crack this on 1 and just blow up his board. Like I really need to get rid of this. That's gonna draw too many cards otherwise. Yep, activates Wayfarer again. This card's really good. This card's really good. Like one of those cards that is much better on the draw than it is on the play. Because like what am I gonna do? Just not do anything? Like I can't really afford to not do anything. So I'm kind of enabling my opponent to just do whatever the hell they want. And that's obviously pretty bad for me. Now, I'm probably in a situation here where I have to crack this Deed for 1. I mean, I'm Deed flooded anyway, so I'm gonna crack this for 1. Got a 2 for 1. He got 2 2-for-1s though. Also, one thing that you're gonna notice, like my opponent, like every time that something gets swept, it asks you in which order you want to put them in the graveyard, and that's because they're older cards. And back then, there were cards that actually cared about which order of cards you had in your graveyard, which is very funny. Really want to find a green source here. But even if I do, I think I'm probably going to play Baloth instead of my Elder. I feel like I really want to draw cards from this Elder. And if he happens to have Plow, so I want to play this Elder when I have 5 mana in play. Okay, I have 2 Elders now, so I'm probably gonna play the first one out, and if it gets plowed, it gets plowed. But yeah, I feel like I really need to find lands from this Elder, and if he plows the Elder, then I'm in a situation where I don't find the basics, because it only triggers when it dies. It's kind of funny how they changed, in MTGO, they changed the phrasing of older cards. So the original, my Elder would say goes to the graveyard from the battlefield, which obviously is like a little bit clunky of a wording, but what did he find? Oof. That was just Ancestral? He's going to this card? That's crazy, man. Alright, so this allows me to cast my card and hold on to this Deed, to kill his threat and hold on to this Deed, which is pretty good. So this Terror was dead. So this is his hand, I guess? No, he played this one. He didn't play the other ones. So he has 2 Heath and 1 Wasteland. Interesting. So he's exposed in the Treetop Village to get blown up by Pernicious Deed. So what this tells me that he has something, right? Like I'm just not gonna take this bait. Probably has another Werebear. Which is a little bit annoying, honestly. Like I'm really stuck on mana once again. Okay, that's very good. Alright. I think I play the Elder. If he has Plow, we're in a lot of trouble. But I need to, start to get out of this situation where I'm just falling behind every single turn. So if he has Plow, we are in really bad shape because I can't sack this guy and he gets to get in there. Like I'm just gonna chomp and get my 2 basics. Think I'm gonna crack this too, I guess. Probably can't take too much more damage from this Treetop Village. But I definitely want to draw some lands here. Another Werebear. So I think I'm gonna play Hermit, because Hermit stabilizes his board fairly well. Ritz Grove. Man, fixing was rough back in the day. When does the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return a non-layer land to its owner's hand. You had to do what you had to do, I guess. Oh, this actually blocks really nicely. Should I play that instead? Nah, I'm just gonna play the Hermit. That TerraGeddon deck looks fantastic. It's looking very, very good. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Yikes. Yes. That's good. That's good. That's definitely good. Yikes. Woof. So we can't pay Echo, so I assume that he's just not gonna do anything. I guess he played the Wasteland, so we're gonna not pay here. Dude's back to being 1/1s. Played Treetop. I wonder why did he only have one white source? Yeah, he did. So that's why. He only had a single white source, so that's why he didn't like pay for the Armageddon with a Werebear. What to do here? Man, I feel like I'm getting destroyed. I think I'm gonna chump block one of these. Next turn I get to play Wall of Root. I imagine he's gonna plow the wall. Oh no, vomit. I wonder why he didn't activate. Oh no, he can't. Never mind. Like obviously, like it works the other way around. Oh, that's the 4th deed. Oh man, this is brutal. That's the 4th deed. Alright, I'm super into this deck. I kind of feel the need to build this deck now. I feel the need to build the TerraGeddon deck now. I guess if we find a basic forest, we can play wall. It's an 05, blocks the Werebear. I'm assuming no Swords to Plowshares because I probably can't beat Swords to Plowshares. And then the Wall of Roots gives me mana. Potentially we get to play Baloth next turn, or we play Deed. We're gonna double chump block. And no, he's playing another threat. Ugh. Mulch. Gigapede. 6/1 Shadow. Shroud, sorry. Beginning of your upkeep, if it's in your graveyard, you may discard a card. If you do, you return it to your hand. That's kind of sick. Basic Forest. That's not a basic forest. So that probably means I die. So I double chump block because I have to. And then I play this and I die next turn. Yeah, okay, so. Wow, that was brutal. Man, I love that deck. I love that deck. Looked very impressive. I know, it maybe just lines up very well against my, rock deck or whatever, but that was very cool though. Like, I enjoyed the play patterns that the deck presented. Big fan. Xenotrump. Alright, here we go for round number 3, and we're playing some StifleNaught today. So the combo we're trying to assemble here is Stifle plus Dreadnought to put a 1 mana 12, or I guess 2 mana 12 into play very early. This hand seems like a trap, I'm gonna ship it. This hand seems a little bit better. This makes a card faces out, so this actually combos with the StifleNaught. I think it's a little bit better, not by too much though. Still gonna keep it, bottom 1 of the Vision Charms and just pass. So, let's see what we're up against here. Basic Forest. So this is Elves. Stifle's an interesting top deck. So he doesn't have anything that can punish me here. I wonder if I should have played Underground River just to potentially cast foil. So it's a matter like, do I want to cast foil or do I want to cast Gush? That's kind of what we're trying to do here. My best draw would be Dreadnought. Probably another basic island would be okay as well. But there's not that many other things that I could find. I guess like more cantrips would be okay, like Portent and whatnot. I imagine he's probably taking a look at the deck list right now. But yeah, this deck is definitely an interesting one. It's straight up a combo deck, but the combo nets you like a 12/12 artifact. And the good thing for me is that I'm pretty sure that he does not have any answers to a main deck. No, he doesn't have any answers besides just playing enough stuff that it goes over the top. Freedom Ranger is scary. Another Elf and Symbiote. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, so now what we can do is we can Gush, returning 2 islands, and then I can potentially, if I need to foil something, I can just cast it that way. I'm not excited about that, but like I probably have to though. So let's float 2 mana, Gush. So counter that, discard an island, discard Vision Charm. I'm not loving the fact that we don't have mana anymore. Not loving that fact, but besides that, we may be in reasonable shape because he's down to a single card. He's down to just one card, and maybe that can give us a little bit of range, because if like at least it gives us time, you know. So we're taking 4 here. That's fine. Take 2. Interesting. Just gonna do some Elves tricks. Well, that I'm scared now. Silver Messenger. Like, I probably can't afford to counter that, right? I would need to discard this and this. But then he only has like a bunch of 1/1s and no payoff. What can he find? He can find another Elvish Champion. That's the big thing that I'm scared of. Elvish Champion or Fearsome. I'll probably have to counter this. Like, it sucks. Like, I'm not happy about doing that, but... And now I can draw like a Dreadnought. And like this deck just throws cards into the trash. Like, there's no... Alright, Portent. Let's see what's up. Can we find the Dreadnought? Those are not Dreadnoughts, so shuffle. Any order. Shuffle. Pass the turn. I guess I could have stifled the Silver Messenger trigger, but if I do that, then I'm not really going anywhere. Because, like, I need to top deck the Dreadnought anyway in order to win this game. So, the good thing is, if I do top deck the Dreadnought, we're actually pretty ahead. That Disrupt is so bad. Ugh. Vomit. So, I mean, at least it worked out. Like, I bought some time, but I need stuff to do with the time that I bought. And I don't seem to be doing that. He has so much mana. There's no brainstorm in this format. I guess I'm gonna save the Delta because I do have Portent. Ugh. So I probably need to find Dreadnought or Bust. Probably should have held on to the Delta because I'm not gonna be able to fetch. So I'm gonna take 4. Okay. Well, like, the fact that his deck doesn't have a single instance or sorcery is kind of brutal. Oh no. Ugh. I'm not fetching. You can't tap my lands if my lands don't tap for mana. Got him. Okay. Dreadnought off the top 1 time. Yeah, he's just gonna tap them anyway, which makes a lot of sense. So, get my island, and I'm gonna let these go. Alright, brutal. That Elves deck looked pretty solid. So I do like Powder Keg, obviously. Do we like Perish? They sure don't make them like they used to, right? Destroy all green creatures. Disrupt. Out of here. Out of here. Vendetta is probably okay. Don't love me. Duresses. And this guy I think is good, right? It's 1 damage to each creature on each player. When it dies, it does 1 damage to each creature. Yeah, this looks pretty solid. Like another sort of sweeper thing. Don't like that. And this is part of my combo. What's the last cut? Honestly, Psych Attack would have been an okay draw there. Why do I have these arts though? I mean, I guess I have this from just drafting, because like that art looks terrible. Should have gotten the nice art. Impulse, Counterspell, Limbs to Volt. That's so much removal. That is so much removal. So he's probably gonna bring in Choke. Oh, Naturalize. Ugh, Naturalize is beating. So probably don't want Powder Keg. Let's go with this. Naturalize is gonna be rough, honestly. Makes me... I wonder if we should have some extra Psychodocs in the sideboard. Because, like, stifling Dreadnought in order to get Naturalized feels like... Yikes. Big yikes. Alright, on the play. These hands have been brutal. Hey, look at that. It's the combo. Yeah, I'm probably going to bottom Vision Charm. I already have 2 Stifles. Well, now I need... Actually, this is a protection spell against Naturalize. Feels kind of good. So we want to draw another blue. Like a basic island would be great. Portent. Okay. Try to look for a land here. We see how much worse Portent is than Lotus Petal, Perish, Plague Spitter. I mean, I love those cards, but without any lands, probably gonna have to shuffle them away, unfortunately. Ugh. Man, the 6-lander into the 1-lander, kind of brutal. Symbiote. He's gonna have a lot of mana next turn. A lot of mana. Ugh. Do we really have to phase this out for a turn? Just to prevent him from doing so much stuff? I probably have to. Like, it's so bad. Oh, it's artifact. It's not creature. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah, this is not great. This is not great. I may stifle the symbiote activation, honestly. Or like a ranger activation, whatever. I mean, at this point, I guess it doesn't matter. Because he can like get around anything. And this nets him mana regardless. Yeah, it's probably not even worth it. That Elves deck looks pretty sweet. Bloodline Shaman. And if we had found the second land, I think we would have probably been in okay shape. But not finding the second land in a timely manner. Land? Ugh. Not finding the second land in a timely manner is just too much here. So I guess I should have stifled something because he ended up, discarding 2 hand size anyway. And obviously if he has naturalized, even if I do draw the land, then I'm still not in great shape. Yeah, I mean, just got, that's how you build a combo deck. And this is a fairly extreme combo deck, right? Like we're playing only 17 lands. And you're trying to, use the whole Xerox engine and try to be as value, just look through your deck and try to do the thing. But when you whiff, it's just what it is. All right, that was not as exciting of a match, but it happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. See you for the next round. We are unfortunately approaching the end, and this is what's up. This is the deck that I'm the most excited about trying out. Aluren. I think I'm gonna keep this hand, and yeah, I'm really excited to give this deck a shot. So we're trying to do some combo in here, some creature combo. And we also have like a sweet little toolbox going in our sideboard with the Living Wishes. This deck is an absolute delight. Llanowar Wastes. So Brian is on RecSur, which is basically sort of a mirror match in a way. It's almost a mirror match, I would say. It's pretty cool. Foff. So we can wish for a bunch of different things. We can wish to hit our land drop, which would be pretty interesting in tower. And then on the following turn, we can wish for Rector, which will allow us to wish for Aluren, effectively. Because we can then sack the Rector. So what I think that we're going to do here is I'm going to wish for Phyrexian Tower to guarantee that I can Foff on my following turn. Because I think that the Foff is gonna be educating a lot of my decisions here. But I'm gonna therapy him right now, and we're gonna name Survival, because I think that if he manages to land a Survival, things are gonna be getting worse very, very quickly for me, and he's playing for copies. So yeah, let's do that. So Living Wish for our land, Phyrexian Tower, and then we're going to therapy Survival of the Fittest. See if we hit. We don't. Those are some scary cards in there. Avalanche Riders plus Recurrent Nightmare basically means that we can get around it. Unfortunately, I don't think I can play around it though. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian just goes for Recurrent Nightmare here, and then following turn he just Avalanche Riders, and then Avalanche Riders me again. Oh, that's like the one of the crappy things about playing in MTGO. Like, you don't have like the Ice Age duels. Okay, Intuition is interesting. We're probably gonna have to Foff here main phase. Just Foff here main phase. Have some more idea about what we're gonna do. Aluren versus cards. This seems like a reasonable exchange. I'm probably gonna keep this pile, the value pile. And I have to take the Nightmare. What happens if I don't take the Nightmare? He plays the Nightmare out. And then he doesn't Riders me this turn. So I guess it's fine, right? Like, we can just pass this turn. Because I really want to therapy the Explorer away, because that's going to give me so much more freedom as far as what we do. So if he Nightmares here, he can't Riders, and if he Riders, then I can go Explorer into Cabal Therapy. So by doing this, I'm making it a lot harder for Explorer to be relevant. Yeah, so there's the Nightmare, which makes a lot of sense, because he's just trying to make it awkward for me, because now I can't, like, what am I going to do now, right? I'm going to Cabal Therapy the Avalanche Riders, and then he just sacks one of his, like, he just sacks his wall, and then gets it back next turn. So this is a good play from Brian, but now what I can do is I can go Explorer, sack, name Riders. I wonder if I even just name Survival anyway. I think I may just name Survival anyways. I just want the mana. So I go Explorer, that nets me 1 mana. Then I can wish for Academy Rector. Then I have, how much mana do I have if I do that? 1, 2, what if I Explorer, crack Tower? That's +2 mana. So Explorer. Then I crack this, get Tower, get 2 mana. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana that I'm going to have available. I can wish. Then I can get Rector. I have 1 mana floating. I sack. And then we can go off with Raven Familiar. Seems kind of interesting. Okay. So I need the white mana here. I almost misclicked there. So Veteran Explorer. I wonder if I should name some creature here. BoshNRoll doesn't really do anything. Leaving Death. So yeah, let's just Therapy first actually. So we know what's up. And we want the green and just another green. Some green mana. We basically can Aluren into Raven Familiar. Wait, did I do this right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I messed this up. I had to Tower first. Whoops. Man, like this is inexperience costing a little bit, huh? Yeah, because I needed to have the Tower. I thought I have 1 extra mana, so the sequencing doesn't matter, and I'd rather take a look first. But now by doing this, I put myself in a spot where, like, what I wanted to do just doesn't work. Just pretty brutal. I think I'm still gonna name Survival. Yeah, I think I'm gonna name Survival. Because it's the card that I'm the most scared of, right? And he doesn't have it again. 5 cards. Yeah, that was just a pretty bad play, actually. Because now I can't sack to get the thing. Okay, so we pivot then. So I'm going to Blessing, target myself, Aluren, Foth. And now we're going to pass the turn, and end of turn I'm going to Intuition. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to Intuition for triple Aluren. My opponent's going to give me the Aluren. So now I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, play Aluren, 1, 2, 2 Living Wish for the Cavern Harpy, and then I'm going to be able to draw a bunch of cards with Raven Familiar, eventually find our combo. So I think I messed it up, but I'm still going to be fine. I think. No! Not Mesmeric Fin off the top! Oh, man. Oh, that's so brutal. Oh. Vomit. So now he can go Mesmeric Fin off the top, take my Intuition. Then now he gets to Avalanche Riders my Tower. Oh, this is the worst timeline. This is the worst timeline. My mistake ended up costing me so much. Man, it's kind of tilting that I found the right play, and then I thought I kind of like I next leveled myself. You know, I thought, oh, this is fine. And like the original way that I thought about it was far and away the better way to do it. And now I'm getting super punished for it. This is what I like about this kind of deck, though. It's so like rewarding and punishing when you mess up. I do actually enjoy that kind of stuff. So I think next turn what's going to happen is the Avalanche Riders is going to... Oh, interesting. So by blowing that up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so now I can just wish for We can Living Wish for Academy Rector. And then cast the Academy Rector. Sack it to the tower. Go get Aluren. And go off. Let's get Explorer. And that was a very lucky draw. That was a pretty lucky top deck there. So bounce here. So now we do this. Draw again. Cabal Therapy is nice. So now we put this back to hand. Cast this with Aluren. Bounce this, cast this, etc. Yeah, now we'll actually set up the combo. That was nice. We got super bailed out. That was a little bit of a mistake from Brian's side. Yeah, the Avalanche Rider actually mattered there. Like, if he had blown up the Phyrexian Tower, we wouldn't have been able to win. So that's cool. All right, got there. Aluren is great. I mean, the problem of having a Wish board is that you don't really sideboard. These are my sideboard cards. 2 Genial Plagues. That's probably not gonna do it, right? So we're just gonna submit the same. I don't think a Genial Plague does anything. Does it? Yeah, I don't think a Genial Plague does anything. Like, we can name Horror, and then Mesmeric Fiend immediately dies. That does not seem worth it at all to me, so... Yep, just gonna submit the same. Let's go. Okay, here we go. Sound looks pretty good. Let's keep it. We're gonna go turn 1 Llanowar Wastes versus Paradise. What we were talking about in the intro about, you know, mana bases being a mess. You can really see how, like, I'm playing like a combo, but like a combo deck that wants to play multiple turns, and like I'm still playing Gemstone Mines because I know fixing sucks, so I'm gonna have to play the Gemstone Mine because otherwise my mana just doesn't function. So it's very funny. Mesmeric Fiend definitely pretty good here. Alright, so Brian also duresses. They take my Coval Therapy and duress my Intuition away. It's pretty good. That does feel pretty good. Particularly because Coval Therapy was going to be my enabler if I wanted to go Wish for Veteran Explorer here. So let's take a peek at this side. We'll see what our options are. If I kind of want to Wish for Wirewood Savage, since we have the Cavern Harpy in play. We could also just Wish for Raven Familiar and play it as is. But Wirewood Savage plus Cavern Harpy, if it's a combo that effectively says, you know, 2 mana, draw a card, and it just loops over and over again. Yeah, so I think I kind of want to do that. So let's do that. So let's Wish for Wirewood Savage. So you go. Next turn we're gonna play the Savage, and then following turn we can start to do stuff with Cavern Harpy. We can also just randomly draw our Aluren, and then we draw our entire deck, so that's also cool. That is also pretty cool. Okay, so he plays land. Now what? What do you got, Brian? Ugh, second Fiend is... Ugh, it's pretty brutal. So imagine he takes this Savage. I imagine he takes this Savage here. He could take the Living Wish or the Harpy, but that's fine. Aluren? Funny. Alright, here's my 2/2. It doesn't really do anything right now, but if you don't kill it, maybe I get to draw some cards. Also, the Wish just can go get the Harpy, even if we didn't draw it. Next turn, we can also Wish for something, potentially. Man, if only we could Wish for a Plague Engineer, huh? Imagine if Plague Engineer were in the format. Just Wish for Plague Engineer named Nightmare Horror. Swipe him up. Okay, so Brian does have his engine going. So now basically he's going to be drawing 1 card every single turn. Because he can discard anything to survival, go get Squee, and then Squee makes it so everything he does... Yeah, every turn a Squee will go back to his hand. Yeah. So now he has the engine roll, and he can get a third Mesmeric Fiend here, which is probably the right play. He knows about the Wish. Oh, Bone Shredder. That's, yeah. I guess if he does have the land, that's much better. Yep. So that kills this Savage. So I kind of want to get... If I find the land, I'm probably gonna Wish for Monk Realist. Oh, he kills the bird. Okay. Kind of scary. Itself, we can wish. Let's. The problem is if I wish for anything, Brian just discards Squee to go get Fiend. So I guess it's better for me to just chill and save the Gemstone Mine counter instead. He can also just go get Avalanche Riders, which would be a little bit of a problem for me. Look at his mana, just a work of art. All Painlands. All Painlands. Yeah, it seems like, you know, with his engine going, it's going to be really hard for me to... I mean, again, I can just draw an Aluren, right? If I draw an Aluren, now we're talking. Yeah, Avalanche Riders, probably going to... I assume he blows up the blue source. Ugh. So I basically just have to draw Aluren. It's probably... The good thing is that if I do, I win, right? So that's the good thing about this deck. Like, very often you find yourself in situations where, you know, like if XY, you know, X, Y, and Z happens, and like they're slowly, you know, putting the you know, tightening the grip, but all it takes is for me to draw Aluren and I immediately win. Yeah, so he blows up the correct land, obviously, because he's Brian and he's good. I'm gonna take 2 here. Aluren, please. CD Brass. Blue, black, Harpy, yes, Raven Familiar. So I'm gonna have to wish now for Monk Realist. Pass the turn. So I wouldn't be surprised if now Brian goes for... So he's gonna let these Avalanche Riders die, and now probably maybe go get another one. Now this is probably the Mesmeric Fiend turn, though, right? This has to be the Mesmeric Fiend turn. It just fiends the Monk Realist. Survival of the Fittest is a hell of an engine. honestly speaking, like, it's so good that this card is not legal in Legacy. Another Avalanche Riders, okay. Does that mean that he has another survival in hand? Is that what that means? Wait. Oh, it's only 2 mana? I thought it was a 3 mana 2/2, not a 2 mana 1/1. Well, I should have gotten this long time ago. Well, I apologize for that. I was like 100% sure this was a 3 mana 2/2. Like, obviously I should have gotten this many turns ago. Well, you live and you learn. You live and you learn. Yeah, that was bad. Well, 2 mana 1/1 that does this is so much better than 3 mana 2/2 that does this. I thought it was just like literally Octavio Orangutan. Yeah, I should have done this many turns ago. Would have been really good if I did. Okay, pass the turn. I imagine Brian's gonna actually pay for upkeep this time. But we're still not attacking him because this Wirewood Savage is keeping both of the Mesmeric Fiends in check. But like, if I were him, I would certainly pay Echo here. Like, the 2/2 is actually valuable. Also, something that you can sack to a Recurrent Nightmare. Just a random body is relevant. Mesmeric Fiend, probably gonna take the Harpy. No blocks. We find Aluren, we're kind of likely to win. Gaia's Blessing. I mean, I'm gonna cast it because, like, what am I doing otherwise? But and I'm just gonna target stuff that they can get with Rec. I'll take a bird. We're getting a little bit low on the life total, huh? Just a little bit low. Just a tiny bit low on life. Yes, he has Squee in hand, which is bad for me. Another Riders, yeah. So that's probably gonna blow up the basic forest at this point in time, I assume. Again, if we draw Aluren, we win. So we are still in that, in a sort of hanging there pattern. Take 4. Don't think my life total matters too much until I die, so no reason to trade the Wirewood Savage there, which broadens my outs to win. So Aluren one time, Intuition. That's an Aluren. Gonna have him pay for Echo, and I'm probably gonna have to do some chomping here. So I'm going to trade one of the Riders, then trade with one of the Fiends. Can he afford to attack with Fiend? Because I need to be at 2 life, as is. Oh, that's a good card. That was a good one to draw there. That was a very good one to draw. Well, now I guess I'm still in the same spot, where now I just have to naturally draw the Aluren. Yeah, so just gonna chump with Monk Realist and go to 2. And if I draw Aluren, I am pretty likely to win. But I need to do exactly Aluren this turn, because next turn he's just right-click attack all, and I'm dead. So it needs to be this turn. I wonder if I would have been able to get there if I had known that the Monk Realist was 2 mana instead of 3, like I thought. Aluren? Ugh. Alright, game number 3. Mistakes were made this match. That's fine though, that's fine. I feel like we're probably a little bit favored in this matchup. Brian doesn't have very many ways, if any, to answer what I'm doing. So as long as I get my pieces in play, like that should be good enough for me to take the W. But okay, game 3. This hand looks pretty good. Let's keep it. How are we sequencing? Probably turn 1 Coval therapy. So we keep that therapy in the graveyard and then we go from there. So what are we naming? Probably record. What's his name? Survival of the Fittest. Survival of the Fittest. Hey, we hit one. Pass the turn. And now he can duress away probably my Living Wish, but it doesn't matter that much, because I'm going to be able to take his Mesmeric Fiend. He probably has to take the Living Wish. Not a terrible draw. Cool therapy you. Yes, we're going to get a basic Island and I think a basic Swamp. We can also do like Swamp Forest, but then I can't play Familiar this turn, which is awkward, so no, we're just going to do this. We only have 1 black source, which is potentially a little bit awkward, but it's probably fine. And unless I see exactly Recurring Nightmare, I'm going to name Mesmeric Fiend here. Deviator and Exorn starts are kind of really very good. They're very, very good. Okay, so Mesmeric Fiend. Boom. Man, he's flooded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, take that one. Take that one. The one that my, deck's named after. That's the one I want. And we're not gonna... I guess I'm actually gonna pay the Echo here. And the reason to pay the Echo is like it gives me so many more draws. And I'm gonna chill on the therapy. But this means that now if I draw Cavern Harpy or Living Wish, I kind of got nothing. But now since I do have the Familiar in play, I can actually just I'm gonna play this thing and say go. Awkward. And now he has Siege Gang in play, which can stop my combo, which is also very awkward. Yikes. This is not working out for the good guys. I mean, whatever I block is just gonna sack one of these dudes and kill my Familiar anyway, so... Yeah. So... Take 4. What's my best draw here? Another Raven Familiar, probably? Right? Yeah. It's not too much that I can do here. Just about to die with an Aluren in play. Oh no, End-Step Yabimaya Granger. Oh, you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. Man, this is brutal. Oh. So what do we want to find? I guess we can find Fact or Fiction. Like if we find Foff, we can probably figure out a way to win, I would imagine. But next turn this is lethal because I take 6 here, 6 next turn. That's 12, and then he sacks 2 Goblins and I die. So I need to find Foff right now. Or I guess a Raven Familiar. Ugh, yeah, that doesn't do it. Yeah, I'm dead. Gonna therapy myself, naming Aluren, of course. Just tough breaks here. Alright, see you for the last round. We're gonna be playing Goblins now. Alright, here we are. Very last round of this very cool video that we put together with Brian. We're gonna be playing what is probably the most tier 1 matchup that we've played today, which is Goblins versus Blue-White Standstill. And this hand is a Goblin Lucky hand, so I don't think you ever ship these, ever. So we get to go turn 1 Lucky into probably play the Goblin King. It's very nice also that Gem Palm Incinerator works through Standstill, which is pretty funny. But we're playing against a deck that has, multiple counter spells, Wrath of God, Standstill, and it basically tries to control the game entirely, and then finishes things off with Mishra's Factory and Fairy Conclave beats. But yeah, well, like this just puts so much pressure on Brian to have the turn 1 Source to Plowshares. He mulligans the 6, which means that he's probably mulliganing for a turn 1 Plow. He does not have it though. Is that a good draw? I think that may be a good draw. Wow. This is... wow. This is an impressive start, to say the least. This is what I would call an impressive start. Wasteland your land, thank you very much. I would certainly say that this is probably considered a strong start, huh? I could go for Prospector here, but there's just no need for me to do that. I can just attack, drop a Goblin King off of this Lucky, then just go Lucky into Prospector probably, and I'm probably gonna kill Brian before he manages to make it till Wrath mana. So there's no need for me to play around the Wrath. Like that Wasteland was so devastating. Like that Wasteland was an absolute beating. Like this draw has been ridiculous. Yeah, that's not an early concession from Brian. That's definitely not an early concession. Wow, that looked really impressive. Okay, so now is when we get to do stuff. Blood Moon is probably not what we're trying to do here. Price of Progress looks a little bit more enticing, but even still, it's not that good. Pyroblast seems very reasonable though. So I do like Pyroblast, and I think I do like Sulfuric Vortex. These are the two cards that I like. Like, he's probably going to be playing a very slow game, and that's the games that Sulfuric Vortex wants to play. Sharpshooter looks pretty bad, so that's a pretty easy cut there. I wonder if Goblin King is even worth it. We can probably cut the Goblin Kings. If this were like the lord that grants everything haste, like I would be a lot more excited. But we have War Chief here to do that. But also Mock Fanatic's probably not where I want to be. Is Mock I guess I'm gonna go 1 Fanatic, 1 King, and I can have access to the King to tutor up with Matron if I need to. So it's probably better to split the difference rather than go all in on that. So yeah, let's go with this. Okay, game number 2. Brian's going to have access to many good tools here. This hand is fantastic, so I'm going to keep it. But this time around, Brian's going to have access to a lot of very good stuff. He's going to have access to Hydroblast. He's going to have access to Humility, potentially even Circular Protection. So because of Hydroblast, I think I want to blow this up as opposed to playing the Lucky on 1. Okay, so now I have a choice. I think I'm going to play Mountain and say go. Because if he has Standstill, I want to make sure that I can Pyroblast it. No blue mana. Cop red. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's potentially a problem. So let's go with Lucky, I guess. And this triggers on damage. So I guess I shouldn't have played around that, and I should have played around Cop red, huh? So now this Lucky doesn't really do anything. Just a little bit awkward. Actually, nothing really does anything. Okay, here's a War Chief. And I do want to play the War Chief because my idea is to try to overwhelm Brian's mana. Like, I can't just nickel and dime here because the Circle of Protection means that I just cannot. So I have to find a way to go around the Circle of Protection, which seems pretty hard to achieve, honestly. Oh, he has Plow too. Yikes. Yeah. And that's very good what Brian did there, right? Like just plowing the one that, allows me to potentially get around this. So, very smart. I'm going to need to draw some cards here. If I can't find a way to draw some cards, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So I'm probably going to cycle Gem Palm on Brian's hand step. Okay, so he gets no tokens, just cycling. Just a very, very expensive way to draw a card, but, he needs to hit land drop, so it makes sense. A Darker Wastes. Finally has access to blue mana, but like now I can just Pyroblast something, which is great. Yeah, he does have the Standstill. I get to Pyroblast this Standstill, which is something I'm interested in doing. Trading 1 for 1 with his Standstill seems good. Another Pile Driver. So if I attack with both, so what I'm doing here is I'm forcing Brian to do the right play. Like if he wants to eat, yeah, Brian's no slouch, obviously. If he wants to eat the lackey there, he needs to, you know, with the factory, then he's gonna need to, like we have 2 gem palm, so we can actually blow that out. And here I'm playing into Wrath, but that's kind of the combo, right? Like if my opponent has circular protection, then circle forces me to deploy my stuff so I can, you know, tax my opponent's mana. But at that point, I'm playing into Wrath, so puts me in a very, very awkward spot. And now Brian has enough mana to just blank my cards, I think. So I'm just gonna pass and step off. Have to pyro that and pass the turn. Yeah, not having drawn another creature there is kind of a beating. I feel like I need to draw. Ugh, that sucks. Yep. I don't know how we're winning this game anymore. I'm not sure how we're winning this game anymore. Yep. God damn it, Brian. With his good plays. What is this whole playing well nonsense? Okay, I'm gonna pop the Standstill. I have no way around it. And I'm gonna find a ringleader. Like I need to try to go extra wide here. Siege Gang doesn't really do it because Siege Gang, like my opponent can just activate once and that stops all of the instances of Siege Gang Commander that I can activate in a single turn. So it puts me in a very awkward spot. Kinda wish I drew Wasteland. Just cycle here. Oh, this is not a May? Oh, yikes. Oh, it is May. Okay. I for whatever reason read that it was not a May. Okay. What does that do for me? Allows me to play around Mana Leak? Huh. If I attack with everything, he blocks here. Pace. 1 mana to block there. Yeah, okay. This is fine. So I'm throwing away a Lackey, but I make sure that this ringleader resolves. Maybe I should have played Wasteland first. Yeah, I guess I should have played Wasteland first. No effects. Okay. Now Gem Palm cycle. Target there. And if he wants to prevent, oh, he doesn't prevent. Okay, so he does have. Wait, what? Oh, he's preventing the damage as opposed to preventing. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna try to do this thing where we're going wide. That's the plan. Combat. Okay, so now we're gonna play another ringleader, and again, I don't think we can realistically play around Wrath. So we're just going to play our stuff and call it a day. I think. Higher Blast. Oh. Okay, so he misclicked and he targeted his own thing. So I'm just gonna whiff here. I'm gonna act as if this doesn't happen. Like obviously we're, you know, playing a real match, but you know, this is not how you want things to go, right? So I'm just gonna act as if this doesn't happen. So, oh, you have to. This is not a May. Oh, this is not a May. Okay. Well, at that point, that makes things really awkward. Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna be able to do that I said I was gonna do. I just can't. Okay. Holding it to this pile driver so we could potentially do like a second wave if we need to. But obviously, you know, it would have been better if it did happen. I guess I can just not attack with this. The thing is, like, this should be my deck, right? The Prospector and the Matron were the cards that I was gonna be drawing. So that makes things really, really awkward. It's a pretty good draw. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. I honestly don't know how to go about this. I really don't know how to go about this. Like, it's a little bit awkward. So I'm just gonna upkeep tap Brian's blue source, I think. Impulse, Hydroblast, kill Lucky. I wonder if he wastes here. He probably has to wasteland here. Otherwise I just mess with his mana. Yeah, I'm being too cautious. I probably just have to slam everything. He plays Standstill. Interesting. So if he wants to block, so he just takes 2 here if I attack with everything. That's probably what I'm supposed to do, though. He can eat a 1/1. And now I can go eat an Incinerator. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to Siege Gain Commander. And I'm going to kill that. We crack the Standstill. There's nothing we can do about it anymore. I'm just going to kill the Mishra's Factory. So if he has a Wrath, we're obviously in trouble. Huh. He Hydroblasts. That's the third Hydroblast, by the way. And here I could have played Matron and played Ringleader main phase, but again, I'm trying to play around Mana Leak and stuff like that. Yeah. So now that he tapped out, I'm probably gonna just Matron here. And we're gonna Matron for Ringleader. I guess that he could have Hydroblast, yeah. He does. That's the fourth Hydroblast. That's Hydroblast number 4. Crazy. He probably has 4 Wraths too, and Humility and stuff like that. Honestly, it's pretty crazy that he hasn't found them yet. He cracked 2 Standstills, and now he's Impulsing. Tap with everything. Man, this is tense. It's gonna take 2 here. Oh man, okay, that's it. I've been playing around Wrath all I could. I don't think I can anymore. Actually, I should have held on to that now that I think about it, because if he Wraths, then I can just go... yeah, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, because I could have gone... if I draw the Hasty Goblin, I could have gone Hasty Goblin into Piledriver, or the War Chief. I could just have gone the War Chief into Piledriver, and that would have been lethal. So I should have held on to the Piledriver. Because it doesn't really change the clock, I don't think. There's no way he hasn't found a Wrath. Like, he looked at more than half of his deck. And he has 3 Wraths. I guess that it needs to be Wrath. Like, it can't be Humility anymore, because Humility just doesn't do it anymore. War Chief? Sulfuric Vortex? Okay. Alright, talk to me. Talk to me. There's no way that I'm about to beat Circle of Protection Red, right? That just doesn't happen. Vortex doesn't stop damage prevention, but it basically taps 1 mana from him every time. So, if I cycle now, he taps 1 mana to prevent the cycle, and then he only blocks 3, which means that it's lethal. So, it's better for me to do this, because otherwise he also gets... Yeah, so this kills the factory. He prevents all the damages. He goes down to 1. The one-off Mog Fanatic. Oh man, that was crazy. That was absolutely wild. Oh wow, what a game. What a game. We beat turn 2 Circular Protection. That's insane. That was a fantastic match. Wow. Honestly, every single match was incredible. Like, I love this format so much. Hopefully you did as well. Yeah, thank you for watching. We'll do a wrap up with Brian now. So hopefully you enjoyed it.
That was fun.
Dude, like, those matches were insane. That last match with Goblins, I can't believe. How many cards did you look at?
I think it was between 36 and 38. I lost count.
Yeah.
And obviously a misclick was involved, but you miscounted your Monk Realist the match before. You gave me like 3 extra turns with Survival, thinking it was a 3-drop. So like, we're even. I'm not mad about it.
Fair enough. Mistakes were made.
Right.
It was fun though. Like, it was such a good time, man. Like, some of those decks have some crazy interactions. Like when we were talking in the Aluren matchup, like, that deck is probably my favorite one that we played today. At least that I played. Aluren was just an absolute delight, and it was just all of these lines with Living Wish and like Intuition and setting up all of these crazy turns. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. What was your favorite deck that you played today?
I think that the TerraGeddon deck is the one that is like the right intersection of like play pattern and power. That like, of the 5 that I played today, I think I would take TerraGeddon to a tournament. As far as one that I liked the most, I think it was RecSur. But Standstill appeals to me greatly as well. Like, I probably would not want to jam Elves or Mud infinitely, because those are just like sort of the same play pattern over and over again. And just, can you execute it quick enough to get it through over the finish line, which is never really my style in any format. But all of the other 3 decks with the decisions made and like doing combat math and all of that stuff was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was great. Like I was honestly surprised when we played the very first match with Mud. I was even surprised at how legit that deck looked. Like you did all of a sudden, you did all this stuff and you had a Tangled Wire going. I'm like, I guess there's a legit Prison deck in the format too. It's like every single archetype has something good to offer. Like at least it has one good deck that you can kind of give a shot to and tune and work and see where you can take it.
Yeah, I think with the Mud matchup, that like the way that the Prison elements, I could started to see how things layered onto each other in the format, and the fact that you were a deck that wins without combat, full of instants that can just shrug off Tangle Wire. I think Mud would have been really great against any of the other 9 decks in the gauntlet, or I guess other 8 decks, excluding itself. Just that one burn matchup was tough, but that's the sign of a healthy metagame. Like no deck should beat everything. So that was pretty cool.
I was very happy with how everything played out, and I feel like the matchups were pretty interesting, except maybe the StifleNaught one, where I failed to find the combo, and then game 2 was just impossible. Maybe that one was like the one that I think that if we had played maybe like 3 more matches with that deck, maybe we could have really gotten to see what makes it tick. But besides that, like I feel like every other deck kind of showed what it has to offer in a very meaningful way. Like I feel like every deck kind of shared its piece of the its piece of the metagame. Like what is doing in the metagame, and it was very, very cool to do and to play.
Yeah, and even the Dreadnought deck that didn't really get off the ground, when you were like Gush picking up 2 islands, drawing 2 cards. Discard those 2 islands, add those 2 cards to foil twice. Like, I thought I sequenced that turn really well to play around Counterspell, play around Daze, sandbagged my best threat for second, and, like, baited me on the first one, and just, like, foil. If you actually untapped into the combo there, I would have lost that game. So, like, we could see how the play pattern evolves, even though it didn't actually occur in our one set there. Like, really cool. Yeah. Every deck was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And it feels like what I've been hearing is that the format is always in flux, which is very cool. And it was one of those things that even though there's like a limited card pool, you still have movement and you have like new tech that arises, and you even every now and then you even have new archetypes. I've been reading that apparently Stasis all of a sudden became like a solid contender in the format, and new tech, Caleb D played in an event he top 8'd with, and he had like one of Stroke of Genius in his Aluren deck. And it's like one of those cards that you say, that's kind of genius. Yeah. So it's very, very cool how things continue to evolve, even though technically the format should be stale, but it feels like everything is balanced. And it was cool the very last match was a pretty interesting experience to me, because it felt like, okay, these are 2 tier 1 decks facing against each other, because all the other ones, maybe you have like a tier 2, a tier 3 deck going on there. But the last is just like, this is the cream of the crop, which just randomly we ended up, finding them and they met in the finals. But it was very cool. And one thing that we didn't really say that I wanted to point out is the fact that, sure, there are certain decks that are going to be a little bit more expensive in paper because, RecSur plays like, I have no idea how many reserve list cards. So you're, you're kind of screwed there. But all of the other decks, like the Goblins deck feels overall very, very cheap. And if you have Goblins in Legacy, you basically just have the deck built already. You have, all of these other decks that are very, very cheap. And because all of those pieces don't really see play anywhere else. So because of that, they're not really, sought after cards, which makes them fairly cheap. So getting into the format, the barrier of entry is not really super high.
Yep. And another thing that I really like that they name specifically on premodernmagic.com is there is no aesthetic gatekeeping. I know some old school communities, they're starting to relax on it, but for a long time, old school was like, you have to play Alpha, Beta, Unlimited. Like, you can't play your 5th edition Shivan Dragon. You have to get an unlimited one. And Premodern doesn't do that. They specifically stay in their mission statement on the website. If you have a card that's legal in the format, you're welcome to play it. You can foil out decks. You could play if it was in reprinted in Innistrad this year, you could do it. There's no cards that fit that description, but like it's all alive. People, they want you playing the format. They don't want to be exclusive, which I appreciate a lot compared to other communities that exist out there.
Yeah, for sure. And even you can play, even for those reserve list cards, there are very much more cheaper versions with the gold border ones. Those are also legal as well. So if you want to play Elves, but you don't want to spend a bunch of money on a playset of Glass Cradles, you can just buy those ones, which are significantly cheaper. I think that they're still fairly expensive, but you get like even an extra little bit of help there that will allow you to play the deck that you really want to in a much more cheaper fashion.
Yep, unsanctioned format, run by the community. Wizards of the Coast. No, there is no house rake on this format. They just want you to play it however you can, and I love that. Let's wrap this up. I feel like I could talk for another 2 hours, but this video is long enough. Premodern was sweet. I'm glad we got to showcase all these different decks. Like you said, every deck got to at least showcase a little bit of what it's about, and we split the matches too. So there was no steamrolls.
Yeah, it's very cool how you have never played the format yet. You are apparently the master out of by 3-2 out of the two of us. So clearly, I need to get my practice going, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch your side of the match for our first round. No, the second round when I played TerraGeddon, because I was sure that I lost game one. When you deeded me twice, you had 2 Balos and a Blastoderm in play, and I had Savannah Lions. I was like, I'm dead. But then I won somehow, and I'm gonna have to see what happened on your side because that blew my mind.
No, for sure, and that it was just the 3 mana 11/11 trample had something to do with that for sure.
Yeah, that's a thick boy.
It's a big win.
All right, well, thank you for agreeing to do this with me. This was a lot of fun. I hope to work with you again in the future. I hope to play some Premodern again in the future. Probably for my fans, I'm sorry. It's not going to become a regular thing on my channel. This was a very special thing. I had to get another person involved. It's a lot more work than normal, but it was fun. I'm glad I got to showcase it at least this once. So Nageldak, thank you for sponsoring this project, and thank you for being here.
No, it was my pleasure. Like any excuse to play some Premodern, I will be there. And yeah, I really appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. This was a fantastic time, and nobody better I could think to do it with you. So thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it.
Okay, and if you're watching on my channel, where do we find you? Plug yourself.
Yes. So I'm the one with the weird name. My name is FPawlusz. That's why everybody calls me Fran or Francisco. It's FPAWLUSZ. That's my username. And you can find me on Twitch, where I stream twitch.tv/FPawlusz. Or in YouTube, you can find me at youtube.com/FPawluszMTG.
All right. And if you're watching from one of those places, I'm Bosh N Roll. You can find me at Bosh N Roll on YouTube, Bosh N Roll on Twitter, and I don't currently stream on Twitch, so those are the places. Go check it out. Thank you all for watching, and once again, thanks for doing this with me, and we will see everyone down the road.